Hey everybody, do you like my hat? All right. So the subject today is attention getters, also known as attention grabbers or hooks. These are things that bring the audience out of their own personal world and into your world. And there are all sorts of different ways to do it. But rather than saying, for example, let's say hypothetically your topic is ping pong, and you start your speech saying, my topic is ping pong. You could do that, or you could have an attention getter where you say to the audience, today I'd like to talk about a sport that's played all over the world. It can be played on an indoor situation or outdoors. It can be played on a rainy day or a sunny day. It has very few injuries. It is not that expensive to get the equipment relative to other sports. It is a favorite sport of the character Forrest Gump in the movie Forrest Gump, which won an Academy Award. The sport I'm talking about is known in certain circles as table tennis, and other folks call it ping pong. Now, what I did there was, rather than just coming out to the audience and saying, my topic is ping pong, which is the way a lot of people start their speeches, I started off with something else. And that something else in this case was an attention getter. You could do a rhetorical question. You could do what I just did there, which is talking about the topic without revealing the topic right away, but eventually revealing the topic. Or you could do a rhyme or a poem, a story, an example, a personal example, like I said earlier, a rhetorical question. All of those things can be done to sort of bring the audience in. And we call this a hook or an attention getter. We call this an attention grabber. Some people call it a teaser. But the idea is the same either way, regardless of what you call it. It's the idea of bringing the audience in rather than just revealing the topic, and then eventually revealing the topic to them. And it's done exactly at the beginning of the speech. It's at the very, very beginning of the speech. And this is one thing that can distinguish a student that maybe took a speech class versus one that didn't take a public speaking class. Doing the attention getter can make you really stand out as a speaker. And for example, I had one student that knew how to play guitar. And so she had an acoustic guitar and she played us a Taylor Swift song, but she rewrote the lyrics of the song so they would be about her topic, which is the mating rituals of tree frogs. So that worked for her. Although don't take it too far. I had one student that heard that example and then he thought, okay, I'm going to take it to the next level. And he was a fan of the rock band The Who. And they like to destroy their instruments at the end of their concert. So he played his song, and then afterwards he broke his guitar over the table in front of the audience, and that freaked everybody out and also wasted a perfectly good guitar. So, don't take it too far. It's good to get people's attention, but you don't have to be too crazy. The main thing is to have an attention getter. A lot of people just frankly don't have one. So any kind of an attention getter is better than no attention getter. And when you're writing your attention getter, a lot of folks do is they sit down at their computer and they try to write their attention getter first because that's the first thing in the speech. But what I recommend you do is, rather than writing it first, leave that blank or put something very generic in there, like a rhetorical question. And then later, when the pressure's off, you can go ahead and write the attention getter, because the attention getter tends to be very creative, and that's really hard to do when you're first sitting there at the very beginning where you have all this anxiety. So I'd write the body of the speech first and then go in and write the introduction. And then the very last thing I would suggest writing is the attention getter. Write something very generic, and then, over the next few days, maybe when you're jogging or, who knows, taking a shower, all of a sudden it'll come to you like a different attention getter that's more creative, if it is, and then write that down, or stick with the not creative one. Just stick with the the tried and true rhetorical question, or the example, which is fine, is or the personal story. Those are classics and they work really well, and you can always modify them later. But the idea is to actually have an attention getter. So I hope you guys have fun with that. I think you will enjoy writing it actually and delivering it, and it'll take some of the pressure off because you can sort of ease the audience a little bit and sort of ease yourself into it. Rather than starting right in with the hard information, you can start with an attention grabber or an attention getter. And then you can always tie back to the attention getter and say, well, I guess you don't like my hat, but I have your attention. You'll notice that when you look at some of our sample speeches, they sometimes tie back to the attention getter as well. And enjoy writing your attention getter and just basically having one. And if you someday give a speech and forget to have one, it's not the end of the world, but it's a good thing to have if possible. If you can remember it, it's always a good thing to do at the beginning of a speech, to have an excellent, high quality, or just any kind of an attention getter. All right, thanks so much, folks.